What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Peanut Gallery Podcast, episode 37. Seth, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot, dude. Except I flew down to Florida last week for an open house wedding thing. It was really awesome. Got to see a lot of old friends and family. But the flight down, dude, was absolutely horrible. What's like the one rule?
Did you record it and put it online for it to go viral?
Oh, I wasn't on United.
Oh,
No, but what's like the one rule for if you're in the middle seat for the other two seats?
Armchair space.
Yes! Thank you.
Yes,
no
that's
one.
the thing.
Both people that I was sitting with had no freaking. The one guy on the right's like all up in my space, literally on his just listen to music, but his arm is all over.
All over the
and then
place.
the other guy's on his iPad like this with his arm on my
Dude,
arm.
the middle seat is bad enough. You get the armrest if you're in the
Thank
middle
you.
seat.
And I had two big dudes, and I was like sitting like literally arms like tied to my side. Literally, I ended up sitting like this for some of the flight with my hand on the tray. It was horrible, dude.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude,
middle
that's the
seats
worst, man.
suck.
I haven't been on a plane in a while, but yeah, middle
Haven't
seats are
changed
awful.
much.
You
It
gotta
still
switch.
sucks. Yeah, well.
You'll be in the aisle, man, because the
I'm
window's
cheap.
not cool because you're
No, you're
stuck
cramped
in there.
The aisle you can like get out.
Get up and go to the bathroom.
Yep.
That happens.
So yeah, that was fun. How was your week? You finished up this semester, bro.
I finished up my school for the semester, yeah.
Whoop,
So I get a
whoop.
big whopping 2-week break until I start my final semester. So that's pretty
Maybe.
exciting.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
That's awesome.
But
dude.
it's a little bit different this week. We are launching this on Friday. You guys are probably watching it. We're not doing it on Monday anymore. We switched the Peanut Gallery podcast to come out on Fridays. So be sure and always check in on Fridays. We posted a post on Instagram and Twitter. So if you're not following us there, that's probably the best place to kind of follow us to stay up to date on the most recent stuff that we're doing.
Right, yeah, because we figured with Monday, I mean, not much happens on the weekends.
Exactly.
So we're already getting like the week's late 2 days later than we needed to.
Exactly.
So
We're talking about everything that happened the week before.
Yeah, so we
this
figured
way-
Friday would be better.
This way you can kind of relax and watch us.
Plus the
wind it
weekend's
down to the
coming up.
weekend. Exactly. It's exciting.
I'll be more excited to record on Fridays.
Oh, well, is it?
We're not going to record on Fridays, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Still the weekend, man.
It still is the weekend.
All right, guys. If you didn't already know, you are listening to and watching the Peanut Gallery podcast. This is the place that we provide our completely unprofessional and insignificant opinions about the most important and significant topics of the day. I'm your host, Jared, and with me, as always, is Seth. And we're going to jump right into what was nuts this week. All right, guys, we are back, and the first story on the agenda today is good old Planned Parenthood, man.
Yep.
Teaching values.
Teaching Values, our favorite medical organization. So yeah, Planned Parenthood came out with their new like rules and guidelines to talking to your preschoolers about sex. So they kind of
Hold on.
preschoolers,
Talking to your preschoolers about sex.
because it's never too early.
It's
to talk.
never too early, man.
Yeah, that alone is.
I say like that you're potty training them, and then you're also like.
By the way,
explaining
this
sex
thing
to them.
also does something else. No, but so people were kind of not up in arms, but kind of it's very interesting. Some of the things they want to try, they're trying to promote now.
Yeah.
So one of the things they said is that when it comes to gender, ideas about what it means to be a boy or a girl are everywhere, and these ideas have a big influence on your preschooler. Learn how to teach your kid that their gender doesn't limit them, and talk about different kinds of families, how to know if your kid is transgender, and more. So that's okay.
First
the
of all,
transgender
gender
part
does not limit anyone, whether you're a girl or a boy.
No, it
Gender
does.
doesn't
It's
limit.
part of
No,
the
it does.
patriarchy
Okay,
of
I'm
white
sorry.
America.
You're absolutely correct.
Right.
Okay.
So, and also in addition to these rules, they also want you to teach your kids that, you know, girls aren't the only ones that have nipples. Like that was even up to the question. But
Okay.
they like literally, and then breasts, breasts aren't exclusively women. Men can have breasts for some reason.
Fat, I suppose.
This could actually tie in great with you triggered me this week.
But
But the one part that I thought was really odd was they also said that the old birds and the bees adage is kind of out of date, and that children as young as preschoolers should be taught how women become pregnant, specifically sex.
Okay.
And I was like, okay.
Isn't that promoting heterosexual activity then?
That's true, dude.
Or is that not allowed?
I don't know. I just think it's way like a preschooler.
No,
you're
I
trying
mean,
to
it's
learn
insane.
boy, girl, cat, dog.
Yeah.
You don't need to be. Hey, by the way, a boy might not be a boy. A boy might be a girl.
Exactly. Some girls have this and some boys have this, except they don't, but they think they might.
Kind of, and then they might change tomorrow. It's just ridiculous, dude.
Dude,
Like-
I mean, you can barely get numbers at that point. How are you gonna understand that?
Yeah. So I mean, I just hope that no one brings up a child just solely based on what Planned Parenthood tells them. But unfortunately, I think that there might actually be some people that might do that.
Yeah, dude.
But I just think you kind of have to be, honestly, personally, and I'm not a parent, but like if you're going to Planned Parenthood for parenting advice, like
not the best.
Yeah, like
I mean,
go
the organization that specializes in kind of ending parenting for you.
Like, we're not even starting it.
Also, we're gonna tell you how to raise your
kids. It's just weird, and it's like I don't know. I guess everyone does need advice to be parents, but I'm like, it's kind of you just kind of feel like you just got to do it. Most people I've talked to, it's like you're never ready for it. You just learn as you go.
And I mean, we're experts on this.
Yeah, we're experts, so we'll be sure to tell kids. Yeah, it's just nuts.
But speaking of experts on parenting,
oh gosh,
yeah. We have a little bit of an update on the Charlie Gard story. Unfortunately, it had a sad ending to it. But basically, what happened is Charlie Gard was taken off life support about a week ago, probably.
Yeah, I think it was about a week and a half. Yeah.
So the UK's ruling that basically what happened is the parents kind of stopped fighting for his life, basically, because after that U.S. doctor was able to come in.
The U.S. doctor that could do the surgery came over and looked at Charlie and was like, "Listen. At this point, there's nothing I can do. He's too far gone. I can't do anything. It wouldn't work."
He's almost 12 months old at that point. And they knew about it 20 days.
They knew it in January.
Yeah, but they rushed him back to the hospital 20 days after he was born. They knew there was a condition. They were trying to figure out what it was.
And it took this long to get the doctor.
They knew about it in January. So I mean, they've been fighting for seven months now for him to be able to be released. He wasn't. Anyways, it's too late. It's really a sad story, and they kind of his father gave a speech, and this is what he had to say.
This is one of the hardest things that we will ever have to say, and we're about to do the hardest thing that we'll ever have to do, which is to let our beautiful little Charlie go. Put simply, this is about a sweet, gorgeous, innocent little boy who was born with a rare disease, who had a real, genuine chance at life, and a family who love him so very dearly, and that's why we fought so hard for him. We are truly devastated to say that following the most recent MRI scan of Charlie's muscles, as requested in the recent MDT meeting by Dr. Hirano, as Charlie's devoted and loving parents, we have decided that it's no longer in Charlie's best interests to pursue treatment, and we will let our son go and be with the angels. The American and Italian team were still willing to treat Charlie after seeing both his recent brain MRI and EEG performed last week. But there is one simple reason why treatment cannot now go ahead, and that is time. A whole lot of time has been wasted. We are now in July, and our poor boy has been left to just lie in hospital for months without any treatment, whilst lengthy court battles have been fought. Tragically, having had Charlie's medical notes reviewed by independent experts, we now know, had Charlie been given the treatment sooner, he would have had the potential to be a normal, healthy little boy. Despite his condition in January, Charlie's muscles were in pretty good shape, and far from showing irreversible, catastrophic structural brain damage, Dr. Hirano and other experts say his brain scans and EEGs were those of a relatively normal child of his age. We knew that ourselves, because as his parents, we knew our son, which is why we continued fighting. Charlie has been left with his illness to deteriorate devastatingly to the point of no return. This has also never been about parents know best. All we wanted to do was take Charlie from one world-renowned hospital to another world-renowned hospital in the attempt to save his life and to be treated by the world leader in mitochondrial disease. We will have to live with the what-ifs which will haunt us for the rest of our lives. Despite the way that our beautiful son has been spoken about sometimes as if he is not worthy of a chance at life, our son is an absolute warrior, and we could not be prouder of him, and we will miss him terribly. His body, heart and soul may soon be gone, but his spirit will live on for eternity, and he will make a difference to people's lives for years to come. We will make sure of that. We are now going to spend our last precious moments with our son Charlie, who unfortunately won't make his first birthday in just under 2 weeks' time. And we would ask that our privacy is respected at this very difficult time. To Charlie, we say, Mummy and Daddy, we love you so much. We always have and we always will, and we are so sorry that we couldn't save you. Sweet dreams, baby. Sleep tight, our beautiful little boy. We love you.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's much else. This is kind of a sad ending to the story. I mean, I couldn't imagine what it would be like to be those parents. Like, you're not able to do the most for your child that you could possibly do because of a government system that's in place, and that would just be horrible. Like, I don't know. Like, it's gonna be hard, and every day they're gonna have to live with this, and this their child didn't make it. And like, it was never an amazing chance at this. Like, he wouldn't 100% have been fine if they were able to do it.
Absolutely
it was also still very low, but just the chance to do it, you know?
Exactly. And I hope that, you know, I mean, it's going to be sad for the family for a long time, but I at least hope, and it sounds like from their speeches, that it kind of wakes people up to this situation and the thing that happened to Charlie Gard, how unjust and terrible that it was, and hopefully that'll kind of, like you said, spur conversation and possibly legislative change to where the state doesn't have control over your kid.
Yep, that would be nice.
How crazy
that'd be kind of nice, that, right?
Speaking of crazy things that happen.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, so we have our good friends up north over there in Canada, and we have some Canadian listeners. I wonder if they've heard about this story before.
I don't know. I mean, it was all the way out in Nova Scotia, which is out east, I believe, and it's kind of a nuts story. That it's one of those things where it's like, this is like the bad case that I kind of think about when I think about, even because my fiance is Canadian. There's a chance we would live up there, maybe possibly in the future. It's a beautiful country, people are amazing, but like, there has always been a hang up for me personally of like the fact that they don't have
the inalienable rights.
Yeah, of not necessarily the well, I guess the gun is a big deal. Like the fact that you don't have a right to have a gun in Canada. You can get guns, but it's super restricted. And in this instance, we can see that there isn't the laws backing up to use that gun if needed.
Yeah, exactly.
For personal defense. So why don't you jump into the story?
Yeah. So basically, what happened is about mid-July, 3 guys broke into a homeowner's house. His name was Kyle Monroe. And he was in the house with, I guess, another person.
There were 2 men in the house.
There were 2 men. 3 guys broke in. They were all armed. Kyle ended up wrestling one of them to the ground, and it took their firearm and then fired it at the men breaking into the house. He shot one of them. He's expected to live, the person that he shot.
Yep.
But basically, so they're not, you know, I'm sure they might be pressing charges against them, but they're pressing charges against Kyle as well, the homeowner.
That defended for his life, these men that broke into his house.
Armed, broke into his house.
With illegal, I mean, you wouldn't be able to have a handgun.
No, you wouldn't be able to use it to break into someone's house. He takes their gun and shoots at them to try and get them to go away. He hits one of them who isn't expected to die at all.
Yep.
He's in fine, stable condition now. But these are all of the charges that he's set with.
Yep.
He's set with attempted murder, intent to discharge a firearm, intent to discharge a firearm when being reckless, careless use of a firearm, improper storage of a firearm, which I don't even understand.
Improper storage.
Pointing a firearm, so don't point a firearm. Possession of a weapon for dangerous purpose. Unauthorized possession of a firearm. It seems kind of redundant to the other ones. Possession of a firearm, knowing that possession is unauthorized. And then possession for the purpose of trafficking, which I don't understand at all.
That seems bizarre.
Unless he was going to, like, grab the person he shot.
Maybe tried to I don't know, dude.
But bottom line, this is crazy.
This is crazy. This man that literally could have died and then just fought for his life is now facing charges. Now, is a good chance that they're going to be dropped, right? Yeah. There's precedent for charges like this to be brought up, but then them to be dropped. But like in another instance of this happening not too long ago, in Ontario, man, this same kind of thing happened where he was a former firearm instructor, and 3 men were freaking bombing his house with Molotov cocktails, right? So he lived out in a remote area. Yeah. He knew the cops were going to get there. So he fired at them with his rifle.
Yeah.
And scared him away. Didn't hit him or anything. And then he faced a crap ton of charges. More charges than the people that bombed his house.
Dude, I would have shot the
right? Exactly.
Bombing my house.
He had more charges just like Kyle, but they dropped them, but not until
here's the thing, dude. Kyle is gonna. It's until August 22nd is his court date, right? He can't leave his house unless he's going to work.
Correct.
He can't use his cell phone during this time unless he has to for work. He's basically under house arrest right now. It's insane, and he's probably having to hire a lawyer. I don't know how it works. He might have a state-appointed attorney, but he might hire one himself if he wants a better attorney than what the state would provide, which is plausible. So he's having to spend money, and he's under house arrest for defending himself for over a month.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right. And so the previous situations that's happened, the charges were dropped, but he had to pay all the legal fees to have the lawyer to get them dropped. So it ruined him financially.
Yeah.
So it's bizarre to me. It's one of those things that I have a very hard time comprehending, that the fact that it would be illegal to defend yourself to the utmost degree that you're able to, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something that I love here about America. And 9 times out of 10 it's not going to be a big deal because you don't get broken in most times. You know, like it's not a normal thing that happens. But when it does happen, that's when I think it's so important that we have these laws defending us, like stand your ground.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like the person broke in, was unarmed, and then when they saw you, they were running away and they were like off your property. If you shoot someone running away and they're not on your property, then you're going to have problems. But the fact that they came in armed with malicious intent and then he fired at them, like, I don't understand it. That's baffling to me.
It's bizarre. It's very, very bizarre. And I hope that the charges get dropped because I really would hate to see him go to jail for this.
Yeah.
Or have any time or any... Honestly, just the month of like house arrest-esque provisions, like that sucks.
And it brings up like an interesting point, not to harp on this too much, but like with America, you talk about freedoms. America's free. There's tons of European countries are free. Like most of the Western world is considered free.
Yeah.
But it's to a different extent. Like there's still freedom of speech is heavily regulated in these areas. In Canada, if your kid is born and they want to pursue they think that they're transgender and you as a parent say, no, we're not going to pursue this.
It's grounds to have your child taken away.
Exactly.
Which
That's
is
crazy.
Nuts. Yeah.
So I think that people definitely just need to appreciate that while other countries are free too, it's to a different extent.
Yeah.
Than seen in the United States.
And it's one of those things. It's like we take for granted. Like I wouldn't even think twice that would be a thing. You know?
Yeah.
Like here in America, it wouldn't even be a second question that he shot at him.
Yeah.
Hope he killed him. Like they shouldn't have been there.
They're on him.
Yeah. I mean, you'll have here in America that story we talked about a couple months ago, where like they were like mad that the guy that they broke into had an AR because he killed one of the guys. And it's like good.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't break into people's houses.
Yeah, I know. That's
like,
crazy.
Oh, it's insane.
Next up, though, we got a little bit of Trump news because we can't get through a podcast without talking about Trump. Can't get through
a week
policy,
or a day without Trump.
Yeah, exactly. This one isn't really bad on Trump. I mean, he didn't really have control over it, but we're talking about a sanctions bill where the U.S. just passed new sanctions on Russia. It was passed through Congress, I know they did Congress. Something. They did something.
That's insane.
But it had something like 73% support, right? So whether Trump vetoes it or not, they're going to overrule it. So it's going to happen whether he signs it or not. But yes, so this bill places new sanctions on Russia. It also places sanctions on Iran and North Korea. It's kind of in response to the 2016 election with Russia meddling in with that. And then also Russia's annexation of Crimea, which happened back in 2013, which it seems strange that I agree that they should be punished for that, but it's 2017 now. Yeah,
it's a little late.
But so basically, Trump has reacted to this bill. He doesn't like it because what it does is it takes away his power as the president to negotiate or to withdraw sanctions on a country. And from what I've looked into, it's not really clear constitutionally if the president has the responsibility to do that or if the Congress does. It talks a lot about how the president has authority to do things with the Senate's permission. So it's kind of a little bit of a gray area. But what this does is it places the full responsibility of levying sanctions on other countries, or specifically Russia, Iran, and North Korea, to the Congress.
Which I would be more inclined to
do that. I'm always kind of in favor of taking power away from the president.
Because it's become so powerful recently.
But so Trump said something. I think he actually almost has a point here, but he says, quote, "Still, the bill remains seriously flawed, particularly because it encroaches on the executive branch's authority to negotiate. Congress could not even negotiate a health care bill after 7 years of talking," so kind of has a point there, but still. By limiting the executive's flexibility, this bill makes it harder for the United States to strike good deals for the American people and will drive China, Russia, and North Korea much closer together. You've already seen kind of Russia retaliate on this field. Russia has seized 2 U.S. diplomatic properties, and as well as there's been a diplomatic mission there. They've kind of exiled 755 U.S. employees. They've said, no, they're not going to be allowed to be at this meeting. They've got to leave. So just kind of, petty responses back and forth. It'll be interesting to see kind of the ramifications of it.
Yeah, and I think it's important to look at this as not in the gauge of Trump and the people in the Senate now, but in the gauge of the president and the Congress, because it's not about Trump being restricted. It's about the presidential office, because this will be in effect past Trump. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, I'm sure Trump's probably a little annoyed. I mean, who likes power being taken away? But I personally,
especially the great deal maker, right? This takes away.
He's made so many good deals. But he does have a point, though, that our Congress at this moment is super dysfunctional.
Oh, yeah.
And they can't get anything done.
To do anything.
Right? So is it better or worse? I mean, I don't know.
And then that's even if you're on board with the sanctions, which a lot of people are torn on that, right? Like, is it even right to pursue this when you already have, Russia? We're already in a pretty hostile environment with them within Syria and stuff like that, and Iran and North Korea. Everything continues to escalate. and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not in favor of just letting them get away with anything. I think that the U.S. needs to kind of step in and say, you know, no, you can't be doing this if it's going to be in our interest. But I'm also not in the favor of starting World War III.
Really?
Yeah, I know, crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's a whole nother discussion for it. I just thought it was interesting that they passed a bill that Trump is not able, or he signed it into law, but he's not able to.
It's nice to see a bill passed into law through the Congress. I'm being serious. Like, when was the last time that happened, dude? We've only seen executive orders, really.
Yeah, nothing. They haven't done anything major. That's
recently,
sure.
yeah. Especially, whatever.
Guys, that is going to wrap up What Was Nuts this week. Be sure and tell us in the comments below what you thought on each and every story, and we will be right back with the main topic. All right, guys, we are back. We are in the main topic this week. And Seth, what are we going to be talking about?
Yeah, so there's a couple big things that happened this last week, man. You had Trump's tweets about transgenders in the military. Mm-hmm. You had Trump's immigration proposal he just brought forward. Yep. And then we have what we're actually going to talk about right now. So the immigration we're going to talk about early next week. It's a video that we want to get more in depth on, that we kind of want more time than we can do in the main topic.
Exactly.
As well as the transgender in the military. That's also going to be a separate video you guys can look forward to coming early next week.
Absolutely.
But today we're going to be talking about 2 new TV shows that got announced.
Yes.
HBO's Confederate TV show and then Amazon's Black America TV show.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that these are pretty interesting, honestly, for someone who I like Game of Thrones. So the writers of Game of Thrones are going to be making this. So it's going to be probably a good show. But then also kind of just the history behind it, the Civil War. I'm interested to see where they take it.
Right.
Because it can either be it'll either be kind of interesting to me if it would be like a take on if it would actually happen, or if it's more of a propaganda piece. We don't know, though, is the big point.
So let's outline what they're going to be.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So HBO's new TV show they announced called Confederate, they describe it as that it takes place in an alternate timeline where the southern states successfully seceded from the Union, giving rise to a nation in which slavery remains legal and has evolved into a modern institution. The story follows a broad swath of characters on both sides of the Mason-Dixon demilitarized zone: freedom fighters, slave hunters, politicians, abolitionists, journalists, the executives of a slaveholding conglomerate, and the families of people in their thrall.
Yeah.
So that sounds freaking cool to me.
Yeah.
The idea that the South was able to succeed, and then we have this demilitarized zone between the North and the South, 2 separate countries. What's going on?
States.
The fact that slavery's still around.
Yeah.
You know, in there. Is it an alternate timeline to where we are now? I
don't know. I mean, it would have to be. I mean, obviously it's a fictional story, right? I mean, slavery wouldn't exist even if the South won now, and it probably would have gone away, because it would have gone away, just economically speaking. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how it goes, and clearly it's a fantasy, right?
And that's
actually happen.
Yeah, and this is the part we really wanted to jump into, is the fact that people have been freaking out when this was announced.
Yeah.
There was a hashtag called No Confederate that went around and got a lot of traction afterwards, where people were outraged that this would even be an idea that HBO would do a show on.
Yeah, absolutely. And my favorite site, the Washington Post, put out an article with the headline of HBO's Confederate is just a fantasy unless you're black.
Nailed it.
And then the opening line in that is, we don't need a TV show about the Confederacy winning. In many ways, it did.
I cannot.
What ways?
Jeez, dude.
I know, it's crazy, man.
Right, and you had people tweeting that this is too close to home. This is so like nowadays. It's like, do you understand what slavery is and what the Confederate was really like? Like, it's, and the people, and the problem is like, you can have problems with an artistic idea, like say that's stupid or you don't like it. But the fact that the hashtag was No Confederate, they wanted to shut it down. They didn't want it to happen. They wanted to restrict the people that wanted to do the show, their artistic vision that they wanted to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why? Because it bothers you?
Yeah.
It's a fictional story. Like, what's the harm?
It just plays into the whole outrage culture and everything like that. That's
like, is Red Dawn offensive too?
Yes.
Like, because that's a fictional story of what's being taken over, and is that horrible too?
Yeah, or the, what was that TV show that Amazon came out with?
Something on High Castle or High Ground or something. We'll have to look in. Yeah, we'll put it up on the screen.
No, but it's about if the Nazis had won World War II and Imperial Japan had won World War II, what it would be like.
Fascinating. What would happen.
But there was no outrage over that. So are you saying that the Confederates were worse than the Nazis?
Yeah.
Who killed 6 million Jews?
Yeah, and plus it happened more recently. So.
Yeah, like slavery is terrible. Yeah, but I mean killing 6 million Jews. That's pretty bad.
It's kind of bad.
So, but it's super hypocritical to like care about that a lot, but then be totally fine with that show? Why not be totally fine with both shows and just see where it goes before you criticize
Enjoy
it?
the story. Like, I don't understand this idea. If you don't like it, don't watch it. But I think it's an interesting idea. And you see, like, for instance, the Nazis winning World War II. That is the foundation for a lot of fictional stories. I know there's Wolfenstein games are based on that video game franchise. There's a lot. There's a Homefront, which is based on a similar idea of North Korea taking over. Like, these they're interesting, you know? Like, what would have happened?
Just an entertainment
right?
thought.
Why can't you just have the emotional exercise of being like, well, what would have happened? I wonder, like, could they have done it? And with this, we don't even know what the point is. Like you said, is it going to be propaganda? Is it going to be like, this is the worst thing ever? Or is it going to be like, maybe they could have formed a functional society from it? And it's not going to say, like, we should do this, you know? Maybe we should institutionalize slavery. No, I mean, the idea that what would have been the evolution of this if they won, and I guess they're assuming slavery didn't just disband, which it kind of feels like it would have. If you look at history, it would have kind of gone away anyway.
I mean, they announced in here strictly that when the South seceded, that it gave rise to a nation in which slavery still exists. So it's not like they're saying the Confederacy was a good thing or they're promoting it in any ways, because they're straight up saying it's a nation where slavery still exists. So anyone with any shred of common sense would understand that, okay, this is not promoting the South or promoting the Confederate stance on slavery in any way.
Yeah, and even if it was,
it's just
even if that was the case,
that's true.
Get over it.
Yeah,
it's a TV show.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't understand, and it, like, I don't know. I'm really excited for this show. I don't have HBO. I'm sure I can find someone who has it though and just log in.
There you go.
But like, what if it is something like, okay, yeah, they're like the only country left for slavery, and like everyone, like the North Korea of today.
Exactly.
You know what happens
if they made it somehow economically viable,
right? And
which
then
it wasn't at all. But if they somehow
did the North go all the way over to California? Now they have all of that, and the South just didn't expand at all.
There's a lot of questions,
right,
to ask about it. Yeah,
exactly.
I think
it's a fascinating.
And if they're like constantly hostile to each other, like there's a lot of work. Well, it says
there's a demilitarized zone, so that would assume there's militarized zones.
Yeah, and it said it takes place somewhere in an announcement. They talked about how it takes place after the Third Civil War. I guess
the Third World War.
The Third World War.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, it was Civil War. You're right.
Sorry. So that means the second one had to take place somehow after that.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting how they're kind of gonna go through the backstory of this whole setup and everything like that. And like I said, dude, it's the writers of Game of Thrones.
Was that this one? And
yes,
okay.
Confederate is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
It's gonna be good. I'm gonna get sucked into this show, man.
And even if you don't like it, like my problem is people calling for the show to be canceled, right? Like straight up cancel. If you don't like it, which the show hasn't even come out. Just wait for the show to come out.
Right, it just got announced. Yeah, like, it's probably not going to be probably like a year or two.
Exactly,
a year and
it'll
a half.
be a while because they got to finish Game of Thrones first. I would assume.
Most importantly,
otherwise they'll be busy. Yeah, for sure.
That show's never going to finish, dude.
No, it is going to finish.
Okay,
it's going to be really
so
good.
When the book comes out, it'll finish.
Game of Thrones. Anyways, but yeah, so like I was saying, at least wait for it to come out. And if you're not, then just say, I don't like the idea of the premise of the show. Don't be like, they should cancel this. This is so offensive to people.
As soon as you take the power position to turn someone down, artistic expression, like it's a TV show, right?
Absolutely.
Like as soon as you want to command them to do something because it bothers you, that's where I have a problem. And I'm just like, I can't understand the argument that this, like, it's a nonfiction. It's a fictional work of art of a movie. It's a TV show. Like, what is the harm of this existing?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
You don't have mobsters running around after Godfather came out. Like, you didn't just be like, oh, their mob's coming back. We shouldn't done.
Offended.
Yeah, and like it's like they think that we're gonna watch this and they can, like, the South's gonna be like, you know what? Let's do it again. Let's try this round
this is
two.
A great idea.
Let's be real. Come on.
No, it's never gonna happen.
So not only was the outrage of this, it was kind of like, what the heck? Why are you guys freaking out? But then the problem was that Amazon announced their show later, Black America, a couple of days later.
Yeah.
And everybody loved it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And why did they love it, Jared?
And the show is interesting because the announcer of the show came out and they said that quote, it envisions an alternate history where newly freed African Americans have secured the southern states of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama as a post-Reconstruction as reparation for slavery. So they're taking those over for reparation.
Giving them or something.
Yeah, with this land, the freedom to shape their own destiny. The sovereign nation they formed is called a New Colonia. It has had a tumultuous and sometimes violent relationship with its looming big brother nation, both ally and foe, the United States. The past 150 years have been witnesses to military incursions, assassinations, regime change, coups, etc. Today, after 2 decades of peace with the U.S. and unprecedented growth, an ascendant of New Colonia joins the ranks of major industrialized nations on the world stage as America slides into rapid decline. So that's pretty interesting right there.
Right.
So, like, the premise of this show sounds pretty interesting too.
It's kind of cool. They both were being
Came
developed
out at a similar time.
Yeah, this takes the opposite approach, basically, right? The
Yeah.
North won still, but then we gave African Americans land.
They took it over.
Or it sounds like well, they were reparations.
Yeah, yeah,
so,
okay. So yeah, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama specifically are kind of given to the blacks to create their own land, New Colonia, right?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, this doesn't have any outrage at all.
No, people are loving it. People are saying this is what they need. This is what everything Confederate did wrong, they did right, and it's like there's not the same like rule being applied here, you know?
No, not at all. And they're both so similar in scope, right? They both take place as a post-Civil War kind of date. They're both fictional stories, spin-offs of what could happen if the Civil War had ended differently.
Also fictional.
And I would much rather people took the approach to this story as they did with Confederate and just been fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And not maybe called for it to be canceled. But it's super hypocritical, like we said, that people are calling for this show. This is the greatest show ever.
This is what we need.
This is what we need. Everyone needs this show.
It's empowering.
But then the Confederate show is so terrible, and it's racist.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know.
And I don't know. Like, this sounds really cool, too, man. The idea of this country that actually, they said the United States is declining. This country's doing very well. Yeah. How did that happen? Like, how are they faring? How are they able to fight off
That's what I was
the United
about to
States?
say.
With these 3 states.
Yeah,
like,
Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama.
That's not a ton of land.
Without the rednecks and the guns there, I mean, how are they going to
fight?
and
the United States would be on both sides, right? I mean,
absolutely.
It'd be wrapped around them. How would it work?
Georgia and Texas.
So it's also fascinating, and I think if you're going to be mad at the Confederate and saying that, well, this is super offensive, it's like, well, why isn't this one? And is it just because it's not including slavery? Like, are we supposed to whitewash slavery from existence and history? Oh, it's bad. We don't talk about it. We shouldn't make stories about it. Yeah. Like, there need to be stories about it.
Absolutely.
And the other problem is, like, there is a book that just came out recently called Underground Airlines. It's a New York Times bestseller, and it's on the same idea of slavery continuing after the Civil War.
Okay.
And no one had a problem with it. It's a New York Times bestseller. Yeah. No one's complaining about it. No one's saying it should be taken away.
Well, the people who get outraged about this stuff don't read.
They don't read books. This is true. If it was on Twitter as like individual tweets, maybe they would read it. But it's just, I don't know. And what we wanted to talk about, like we have been, is the outrage and what is the thought process of wanting to basically...
well, you're talking about censoring artistic creativity.
Because it's offensive. And that's such a broad term. And then, well, who's it offending? Or who are we justifying? If it offends them, what if it doesn't offend me and it offends you? Who do we go with?
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. And this is completely different than like a Kathy Griffin thing, right? Because you can, and I don't think that should be illegal in any way.
Oh, the artistic expression.
Yeah, exactly. Like people were saying, oh, you should limit this artistic expression or anything, but you could kind of see that as violence portrayed towards a specific person, obviously, right? This is a fantasy land of things that happened 150 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. It's not happening to anyone now, and it's openly fantasy, right?
Yep.
It's not calling for any kind of violence or anything like that nowadays. It's completely different in that regard, and I wouldn't even say that her expression should be illegal.
No,
right?
No one. Like, we never called for her to be like prisoned or shut down. Just she was an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. And this is just totally different, and people are calling for it to be shut down and canceled. And HBO's gotten
attacking the writers. HBO had to put out a statement saying, "Listen, I hope you guys they were just like, listen, guys, we have confidence in our writers. We hope that when you give it a fair chance, you know when it comes out, it's going to be downvoted. However, HBO does ratings, it's going to be tanked. But I think it'll have a lot of viewers at least.
Oh, yeah.
Unless, that's a lot of people that are commenting about this. Will have no intention of watching it at all.
Like we said, though, I think this is, I haven't said it yet, but I think this is kind of like a silent minority, or not a loud minority of people. Yeah. I don't think the majority of people would hold this opinion.
I think a lot of people will think this would be interesting.
Yeah, or they don't care at all.
Yeah,
like you're either not really interested in it, you're really interested in it, or you're super outraged by it and think the show should be canceled.
And you're on Twitter. And
you're on Twitter and you're freaking out about it. And it's just crazy.
And I mean, honestly, just think about it, bro. Like, Wall-E, fat shaming, you know? Talking about Americans getting fat.
It is.
Fat shaming. Let's take Wall-E down, bro. Let's take down Disney.
Take it all down, dude. And global warming, man. I mean, gosh, freak out, man. Freak out.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, man. I'm all for freedom of speech, and they're able to, but it's like, let's try to think about why are you calling for this to be taken down? Yeah. And then a lot of people are tweeting out saying, well, we don't want it to be taken down, we're just giving my free expression with the hashtag no Confederate. So you're saying that you don't want it to exist.
Burn it down.
Yeah, hashtag get rid of it. I don't want it gone, guys. Like, let's be honest about what you're doing here.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to me. These are going to be like the liberals and the progressives that want this taken down, right?
Yeah.
And then they're the ones, like, they're fighting fascists on the right, obviously, but they're the ones that are trying to censor
speech and
right.
shut things down that they don't like. Exactly.
Freaking
yeah, and I mean
the irony is just.
I know, but awesome. They don't. You'd have to understand history and what fascism actually is to be able to actually like use that word appropriately in situations.
There should be someone should make a tweet bot that whenever someone tweets a word with the tweet with fascist, it just sends him a tweet with the definition. You know,
or like a little quiz pops up and it says like, "What is
RUA?"
Yeah, exactly. And then you have to be able to answer it correctly. And then if you don't answer, it's like, no, you can't use it.
Yeah, it's just
be awesome. But like, neither one of us are talking about how they shouldn't have the right to say this. Just to make it clear, like, we're not saying they shouldn't be able to say this, but talking about it from just like a decency standpoint, right. Like, and if they're gonna say this, we should definitely come out and condemn people being stupid and saying dumb things,
right.
Like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say that, and I think that the more people that kind of come out and condemn this kind of speech, hopefully it will, you know, not promote this kind of speech more. I know there's tons of people who just want to be famous and their tweet go viral, so they're probably gonna do it anyways.
Yeah, it's
but
true.
I think it's important to discredit these kind of outrageous claims and speech like this, because it's important to keep artistic creativity protected.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I don't think there should be any limits on artistic expression. And again, it's like a broken record. These big news outlets shoot themselves in the foot, like the Washington Post. What are you doing, man? Yes, it's a fantasy unless you're black. Are you serious?
Yeah.
You're seriously gonna write that it's not a fantasy if you're black in America right now, that the Confederacy law, like.
Yeah,
like, do you understand what you're saying?
Well, and I read further into it, because when they said that we don't need to show about the Confederacy winning, they already have one in some ways. They instantly cited the shooting in South Carolina of the black church, right? And that's horrible. That would have
that's a fringe, crazy nutcase.
Exactly. There's cases on that of both sides of people going in and doing that. Like, are you gonna say, "Oh, it's terrible that Democrat came and shot up the Republican baseball fields," right? Because of whatever reason you want to say. No, it just turns out that there's crazy people out there in a country of 330 million people, where people are free to own firearms. Crazy things are going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not that the Confederates are winning in any way. It's insane.
There was a really good, I think, analogy that Joe Rogan talked about. He's like, you put 100 people in a room, right? You're going to assume like maybe 1 or 2 people are going to be completely idiot, like dumb. There's completely dumb, right?
Yeah.
100 people, 2 or 3 completely dumb. Then you scale that up to the size of America.
Mm-hmm.
Millions of people are going to be completely dumb and completely idiotic. And honestly, you put that with crazy. You put 100 people in the room, someone's going to be a little off, right? Maybe 1,000 people will say. 1,000 people, you probably assume one person at least in this room, 1,000 random people, one person's going to be a little bit off, right?
Oh, totally.
A little bit odd, a little bit. So you scale that up, you have hundreds of thousands, if not millions.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, you can't attribute motive to an entire group because of a couple fringe people.
Absolutely. And to say that the Confederates are somehow winning because this horrible act took place.
Well, the flags are up, Jared, so it's basically the same.
You're exactly right. I'm sorry.
It kind of blows my mind when I drive into Georgia from Florida and I just see a giant Confederate flag. I'm like, all right, we're not in Florida
we're in
anymore.
the South now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's definitely interesting. And I can guarantee you that the vast majority, I grew up in the South. I know a lot of people from the South, all my friends, no one would advocate any slavery coming back or anything like that.
No one wants
talking about like their heritage, right? And
yes.
I don't know. It's crazy.
I'm excited for both these shows though.
Yeah, no, we don't have any kind of. Well, no, they're just talking about it, so it'll be a while.
I think it'll be a little bit, but I mean, I'll be able to watch the Amazon one because I have Amazon Prime because it's amazing. Yeah. Amazon sends me free stuff.
I'll be able to find out where
to
watch
HBO. Yeah. Well, you're watching Thrones, right?
Yeah.
So just however you're watching Thrones.
Totally not in an illegal manner.
No, it's totally legal. Absolutely. Someone else is paying for
it. Dude, but for real, just how many people do you think like have HBO, like watch HBO,
enough for them to be profitable?
No, or watch Netflix that don't subscribe to it. Like I watch it off of.
I watch like my parents.
Yeah, but my parents bought it. And are you? I guess
you're given a certain amount. We're not breaking any law. I mean, you're given up to like however 5 people can log in and watch at a time.
Not a limited amount.
It's a limited amount.
But you can only be watching at a time, or could like 30 people have access?
But only like 3 people watch at a time.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
They knew what they were doing then.
Yeah.
My conscience is clear.
I never had any issues.
Yeah, I never had one in the first place, but it's clear now. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up this week's main topic. Be sure and comment below. Tell us what you think. Are you excited for these 2 shows? Do you think that they should definitely be canceled? If so, tell us why. Furthermore, that is going to wrap up this week's main topic, and we're going to jump right into what triggered us this week. All right, guys, we are in the final segment of this week's Peanut Gallery podcast, and we're going to wrap it up like we always do with the What Triggered Us this week. This is the place where we deny all rational and logical thinking and replace it only with emotion. And Seth, what triggered you this week?
Mine's kind of perfect for that thought process. Any rational, logical thinking was thrown out the window with mine. So I feel bad because I am a huge Harry Potter nerd. I love Harry Potter. Read all the books. I think we've talked about it before. I mean, I had the book sent to me as soon as they came out. When they were coming out, I have a wand, I have a scarf, I have shirts. Whatever, man. Remember when you hated Harry Potter?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's amazing. And you're like, no, it sucks. And then you watched it.
I even have a shirt and a wand.
But you haven't read the books.
No, I don't.
God, you're such a fake fan.
Can't read fiction.
Anyway, my triggered is unfortunately about the writer J.K. Rowling again. And she's come up before, and I've just...
This is her second appearance on What Triggered Us.
At least.
Yeah.
She's done multiple kind of dumb things.
You have a What Triggered Us Hall of Fame and put people in there.
Not J.K. Rowling, though, because she made Harry Potter.
She made it, but hey, you know what?
She's amazing. I love you, J.K. Rowling, but you're just kind of dumb sometimes. So over the weekend, or maybe it was throughout the week, I can't remember. It was exactly when this happened. She retweeted this video. And along with the video, she said, my mother used a wheelchair. I witnessed people uncomfortable around her disability. But if they had a shred of decency, they got over it. So yes, that clip of Trump looking deliberately over a disabled child's head, ignoring his outstretched hand, has touched me on the raw. So with this video, you can see, I mean, it looks like Trump's just completely ignoring this kid in a wheelchair. And she's like, this is ridiculous.
Gosh, what a jerk, man.
Right? What a jerk.
God.
Except that video was edited deceptively to make it look like Trump was ignoring him. If you look at the real video right here, you can see that the first thing Trump does when he walks into this room is shake the boy's hand, talk to him. He actually gave the most attention in this room to this little boy.
Yeah.
And so, luckily at least, J.K. Rowling came back and was like, she tweeted an apology. She said that multiple sources have informed me that this was not a full or accurate representation of their interactions. I very clearly projected my own sensitivities around the issue of disabled people being overlooked or ignored onto the images I saw, and if that caused any distress to that boy or his family, I apologize reservedly.
To the boy.
To the boy. And
not
that's
to the person you were attacking.
Exactly. So that's the part that I kind of have an issue with. So she admitted that you messed up. Good. That's more than most people do.
That's true.
I felt like it was a real apology. But you didn't apologize to Trump, who you put the motive on.
Exactly.
You called Trump out and kind of insinuated that he has a disrespect for disabled people.
Absolutely.
You assaulted his character.
Yeah.
But then when you apologize, you don't mention an apology to Trump.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, this is an instance where it's not even about being the bigger person. It's just about giving a real apology. Like, you weren't sorry that you completely fabricated a story, fake news against Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm like, come on, JK. Like, it's so hard for me to want to trust you in your tweets and be someone that I can rely on, because you just feel like you're part of the problem a little bit, where no matter what happens, you cannot apologize to Trump. You can't do anything good to Trump. Trump's always bad no matter what he does, and there's nothing. And great that you apologized to the boy, and you even had the boy's mom on Facebook before she apologized. She was like, listen, J.K. Rowling, I hope that this can get to you, but Trump wasn't ignoring my boy. My boy actually had a patch on his hand. He wanted to show Trump that Trump had given him or whatever. And it's just like, you were so close. You know, you apologized, great, but you didn't apologize to the person you actually attacked and the person you actually. And you have a big influence. You're not a small. She's probably
absolutely
one of the richest people over in Britain. Is it Britain? I think she is. Europe.
But one thing that I kind of wanted to jump in with, and this isn't necessarily the fault of J.K. Rowling, but just more the supporters and the people who follow her on Twitter and stuff. If you look at this tweet, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I read an article about it. It had a ridiculous amount of retweets compared to how, the first one, right? And so the vast majority of people only see that, and then compared to her apology one, it gets substantially less.
The apology never gets
single-digit percent of retweets.
Right.
Which it seems super distant. If you're one of the people who follow her, right, you're probably going to see her tweets. I'm not saying you're going to see all of them, but if you saw her initial tweet, there's a good chance that you saw her apology one. And if you're not retweeting that one, but you're retweeting the other one, that's kind of
I'm not going to put it on the person. No.
I think that it plays into the
It's
society.
all on Rowling.
It's all on what?
JK, I think. Need, if you're gonna say this about someone, you need to know what you're talking about. And it was so easy for her to
absolutely.
just double check.
No, I agree with that. But I'm saying the problem is that even if she came out with a super compelling apology and stuff like that, the fact that not as many people are seeing it because it's not retweeted that much because people don't want to retweet things that don't fall into their narrative.
True.
I'm not saying it's her fault for tweeting it out in the first place, but it kind of talks to a wider problem that we have with society today. The corrections
never matter.
Yeah, exactly. And how they're willing to completely kind of ignore things that don't promulgate their narrative, right? Is basically the point that I'm getting to.
It's for her idea of always wanting to destroy Trump. It's better for her to put out something that's completely wrong and then rescind it, because that's what's completely wrong gets way further reach than her recension ever does.
And we see that all the time with news networks when they put out stories and then they'll put out an apology.
An update. And it's like no one watches the update.
That.
No one
cares. Ever talks about it.
And then you have people now that aren't going to, a lot of people aren't even going to know about the apology. And they're just going to have in their head, Trump hates disabled people. And then they're going to vote. And you're like, why'd you vote against Trump? Because he hates disabled people. And I'm like, you realize you're an idiot.
Yeah, there you go.
Just, triggered. Come on, JK. Get your crap together.
Yes.
You're still stupid rich, though.
Speaking of news organizations and idiots, though, right? So we have CNN, you have the Washington Post, you have all these different news organizations. The one that I'm going to be specifically talking about is CNN, because they put out an article recently. And the headline is Transgender Man Gives Birth to a Boy. And another one was Transgendered Man Assigned Female Sex at Birth Gives Birth to a Boy. So First thing off
Let's
the
put
bat,
that in front of a preschool and say, what does this mean?
What does this mean to you?
Oh my gosh, dude.
But first thing off the bat, congratulations, yes. A female gave birth to a
transgender man, except everything inside of her is her.
Exactly. I don't know why this is celebrated. There's 7 billion people on the planet. Every single one of them was given birth to by a female. So this isn't.
You sure it wasn't a transgendered male?
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So that right off the bat is insane. This is clearly a female. It's biologically a female. I mean, it's just males can't give birth. Second thing.
What if they wanted to?
Second thing, how dare CNN ascribe a gender to the boy that was born?
Did they give birth to a boy? Is that what they said?
Yeah, they said gives birth to a boy.
Gosh, dude.
It's
triggered.
Who knows if it's a boy? Those parents might not want it to be a boy.
Could be a transgendered female boy, something or other thing.
Could be gender fluid. It could be female tomorrow.
It's like you can't. It's like they have a list of things. It's like you can't. They're never all applied.
No.
And if we don't, we get attacked.
Exactly. No, they always break their own line of.
There's no logic.
I know there's no logic, but even if you stick with what they're saying, it gets broken with whatever or contradicted with the next thing that they say.
Yeah.
But it's pretty sad because I follow CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post, all that on Facebook, right? So I always, with a crazy story like this, I go to the comments to see because there'll be one comment with 3,000 likes and stuff to see what it is, what the people think and who gets the most support. And it's I can't believe the amount of hate that people are getting. Why do people even care about this? And it's look, I get to an extent, go live your life, be whatever you want to be. But the moment you try and tell me that I need to say that this is a man who gave birth to this boy, it's not. I'm sorry. That's when your freedom encroaches on my freedom, right? If you tell
logic
me,
or science
or biology, right? If you try and tell me that just because this person thinks that they're a man, that I need to now change science and biology as it's been known for decades, centuries, to ascribe to your thinking, that's insane to me.
Right. And the best part of that I liked is Ben Shapiro's tweet about it. It was his most retweeted thing ever.
Yeah.
And he literally was no,
female gives birth to a male.
Yeah, he's the title should be female gives birth.
Yeah, and it should, because that's what happened.
Right, it's this happened recently. I thought it was happened a while ago. This happened too. There was a man's pregnant, and it's it wasn't a man.
Dude, and you saw these pictures where we have them up when we introed the story, but that's disturbing to see. I get you can do whatever you want, but it is weird to me to see dude with I think he had a beard and some
yeah.
It looks
so it was a girl, and it had all the surgery. It didn't have the surgery, obviously. Well, I don't know how it works, but
it's a girl at birth, obviously. Still a girl now, but no, it didn't have the surgery.
It couldn't have had the surgery.
Because giving birth to a child.
So they just cut their hair.
Push it out. Where is it gonna? Anyways, yeah. Yeah, dude, you just cut the hair. Probably it had to be on. Whatever. Had to be on hormone replacement, right? Because
is that going to be really
sure
bad
when
when
beard and stuff.
it's pregnant? Do we know what happens?
I don't know. No, I don't. I mean, this is a big story, so it might be a pretty new.
I wonder what happens to the boy if the kid, if the mom
is on a bunch of hormone stuff while it's being performed in the womb. Yeah. I mean, I'm not
kid comes
a
out
doctor,
with a full beard.
but I feel like it's not good.
Oh my gosh,
it's
dude.
crazy. It's crazy.
That'd be interesting to look into.
All right, guys, that is going to wrap up this week's Peanut Gallery podcast. As always, be sure and tune in next Friday because that's when our Peanut Gallery podcasts are going to be coming up. Be sure and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook to stay up to date with all of our latest content. Be sure and subscribe to us on Google Play and iTunes to follow us or listen to our podcast. If you do that, be sure and leave us a review. That really helps us out. Until next time, guys, always remember, stay informed.